Friends, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in any part of the world. Welcome to Swarshravan episode number 39. Yes. After the last two episodes in which we paid tribute to legendary musicians who left us with their music, today we are back with you, presenting for you a very dynamic contemporary flute maestro. I remember when I was growing up, I had a great liking to listening to radio, and that's where I heard many artists who would not be heard regularly on concert platforms. One such artist was Pandit Venkatesh Godkhindi ji. You know, we used to have these radio Sangeet Sammelans. So I remember hearing Pandit ji in one of those Sammelans. And I remember that when they were announcing the name of accompanying artists, one of the names that was announced was Pandit ji's son, Pravin Godkhindi ji. And it is Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji who's our artist for today. So I had always remembered his father, Pandit Venkatesh ji. And just recently I happened to hear Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji. And I heard his Vrindavani Sarang, Rag Vrindavani Sarang that he had played. And it was so amazing. And I realized, wow, this is Pandit Pravin ji, whom I had heard along with his father on the radio years back. And it was so refreshing to hear Pravin ji play. And that's when I began listening to him more and more, and just realized that what an amazing treasure we have here. And people definitely need to know about this treasure. And so that's why we decided to dedicate this episode to Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji, episode number 39, as I said. So, like always, we will talk about his flute playing, his style, and also about some of the rags that he'll be playing as we move on during the course of the session. So, the first rag that we'll be playing for you is Rag Shuddha Kalyan. And I would especially like to talk about this rag. It's a very unique rag. It's very similar to the more popular rag, which is Rag Bhupali, also called as Rag Bhoop. So, I'm sure all music lovers, students and listeners included, are aware as to how Rag Bhupali sounds. Sa re ga pa ga pa re ga re pa ga pa dha pa ga pa re ga sa re sa dha dha sa re ga. That is Rag Bhupali. Now, Shuddha Kalyan is very similar, like I said, to Rag Bhopali, except while descending, there is a slight variation that happens, and it happens something like this. Now, just to go back to Bhopali, sa re ga pa ga. This is Bhopali. Now, the same phrase, if I were to sing in Shuddha Kalyan, I would sing it like sa re ga pa ga pa ga. So, when I'm singing pa ga, there is a slight touch of tivra ma when I'm going from pa to ga. Whereas when I'm singing bhoop, it is just a straight movement from pa ga. And when I'm doing Shuddha Kalyan, it is pa ga. Similarly, when I'm going down from sa dha, now this is what I would do in bhoop. When I'm singing Shuddha Kalyan, I would do sa dha. So there's a slight glide onto ni and then to dha. This is Shuddha Kalyan. And of course, being Kalyan, the emphasis also is more on re. Re ga pa ga, re ga re ga re ga pa re, re ga re sa da pa ga. Re ga pa re re sa da sa. So that is Rag Shuddha Kalyan. So this is the rag that we are going to listen to from Pandit Pravin Godkhindi to start with. And he'll be presenting two compositions, Vilambit ek tal and Drut teen tal. So flute, but in vocal style, Gaiki Ang as they call it. So here we go, Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji with Rag Shuddha Kalyan. Wow. It was so amazing, isn't it? I'm sure just like me, all of you felt that his flute was actually singing, right? It was not playing, but it was literally singing the composition, you know. So Pandit ji, that is Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji, heard his interview also in the course of preparing for this session, and then he was saying as to how his father emphasized the need to learn vocal music. So something that is very strictly followed in the South Indian style of classical music, which is Carnatic music. So it was so amazing to listen to Rag Shuddha Kalyan, and you could literally, if you have heard Rag Shuddha Kalyan being sung, the composition that Pandit ji played just now for us, you could literally hear the words of the composition. So it's a very unique combination that Pandit ji has in him, in which he plays both the Gaiki Ang, which is the vocal style, and the Tantrakari Ang, which is the instrumental style. And that's exactly what we are going to listen to in the next composition that he is going to play for us, and that is based on Rag Vrindavani Sarang. Not the same composition about which I spoke initially, which I had heard. This is a different composition, and it's in a not very commonly used tal. Definitely it is very uncommonly used in vocal music, a little more prominently used in instrumental music, and it is called Matta Tal, and it's a 9-beat cycle, Matta Tal, and it goes something like this. Dhin tere kit dhi na tu na dhi dhi na dhi dhi na dhin tere kit dhi na tu na dhi na dhi dhi dhin tere kit dhi na tu na dhi dhi dhin. That's how it goes. So it's 9 beats, and this is a composition that we are going to listen to in middle tempo, Madhyalaya, Matta Tal. So here we go, Rag Vrindavani Sarang. Of course, very common rag. We are all aware of the rag. So let's sit back and enjoy this instrumental style. After we heard the vocal style from Panditji, let's listen to the instrumental presentation. Instrumental style of presentation, I should say. So here we go, Rag Vrindavani Sarang with Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji.
ಇದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಯಾವಗಲ್ ಸರ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರನೇ ದಾಡ ಧಾತುನ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ನಲ್ಲೇ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
Wow. So if you notice there, Pandit Godkhindi ji mentioned about his tabla player, and he was accompanied on the tabla by a very famous tabla player from that region of India, Pandit Ravindra Yaugal ji. And what Pandit ji was saying was the way the composition was composed, it so perfectly matched the playing of the tabla, you know. So Pandit Yaugal ji, who was accompanying him on the tabla, made sure that it gelled so brilliantly well with the composition, and that's the way he played the tabla. And that's what Pandit Godkhindi ji was mentioning. So it was just so amazing. So whenever we listen to any concert, and I'm sure listeners would be remembering me mentioning about this, that it is very important to also listen to the accompanying artists, because after all, it is a team effort. So whenever there is a concert happens, it's a team effort. The concert cannot be appreciated without all the aspects being absolutely at par, right? And that's when the overall effect is created, and that's what we go away with. So it was just so amazing to listen to the instrumental style in which Pandit Godkhindi ji played Rag Vrindavani Sarang, right? So the next composition is also a very fast instrumental style presentation in Rag Jog, another very, very popular rag. Ga ma pa ma pa ga ma ga ni ga sa pa ni sa ga ga. So that is Rag Jog with the usage of both ga along with komalni. So let's listen to a fast-paced composition in Drut Teen Tal played by Pandit ji. It's a very short one, just like it's as if like just a wind which just comes and blows you off. It's that kind of a composition. So I hope all of you enjoy this. Here we go. See, like I told you, just wind came by and it just went away, whizzing past, right? So that kind of a composition. So that was Rag Jog for you. So after having heard these very different styles of compositions, initially the vocal style in which we heard gradual slow elaboration followed by the composition in a unique tal, matta tal, middle tempo, and now the fast tempo. Now comes the important and the most awaited segment of our program, and that is the interview with the artist. And looks like this interview was conducted during the pandemic when everything was happening online, and this was one such interview. And even the interviewer is a very upcoming and a pretty popular flautist, especially in Bengal, Devapriya ji. She's interviewing Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji. So it's a very long interview, but as you all know, we just bring you the excerpts from it. So here we go, Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji in conversation with Devapriya ji.
So your father was your first guru, I believe.
Yeah,
So-
and my only guru for flute.
Right.
My father was a multifaceted artist. So he actually began as a harmonium player and
Okay.
used to accompany all the legendary vocalists of Dharwad. We are basically from Dharwad.
Yeah. I know.
So Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Pandit Dasaraj Rajguruji, Gangubai Hangalji, has accompanied them on several occasions.
Wow.
And even Kishori Tai, Jitendra Abhisheki ji, and Pandit Jasraj ji. So his art was an assimilation of all the gaikis that he heard from such a close quarter. And then he also was trained under Pandit Narayan Rao Mujumdar in vocal of Gwalior Gharana.
Okay.
And then it so happened that he started playing the flute, and he didn't have a guru for flute. Throughout his life, he never learned the flute from any guru. So what he did was all that gaiki that was there that he had heard, and he was a huge fan of Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. So he tried to bring all those gaiki into the flute. So in his own words, he would say, I would like to sing through the flute rather than play the flute. So, and he did all this by trial and error method, so by trying out new things, and some things he learned very wrongly, and then looking at pictures of Pandit Panalal Ghosh ji and Hari ji, and he then changed his position. He used to keep the flute on his shoulder earlier, and so he had developed a sprain here in his neck. So he
would
struggled a
that be?
lot.
As in?
His neck would be completely locked to the shoulder like this.
Okay.
So several years he used to play like that. Only when he saw these pictures on LPs, then he realized the neck has to be straight. So that kinds of learnings he had to undergo. And then there were no tanpura players for him while he had to practice. There was no electronic tanpura then. So he had the surpeti, which is similar to a harmonium. So he would ask my mother to play it when he practiced, but she could do it for only some time, because it hurts, and then she has to do other work. So he had to sit on a chair and put the surpeti down on the floor, and then he used to use his legs to blow it, and that's how he practiced and struggled a lot. So all that uh, penance or the struggle that he did for almost like 40 years, that entire knowledge, that perception of music and the technicalities, everything he showered on me. So I was lucky to have such a guru. And all during my childhood, it was always used to be an interactive session. Always I used to ask questions, and he was always there for me. That was the best part of it. So learning for me was more like a playful thing. It was like another, like solving puzzles or playing. So I really enjoyed my time in music. So it was never like rigorous practice. At least in the initial days, it was very cordial and very nice with small challenges. You have to remember how many avartans Bhimsenji sang today. So I used to keep count of all the number of avartans in Vilamit Ektal and tell him "Ki this so many." So I was a kid then. So these things, they kept me attached to the music. So I developed that keen sense of listening and analyzing and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how my journey began.
Please tell us a little more about your particular gharana, in the sense, about the particular school of music that you represent.
Yeah, my father, as I said, was really influenced by the Kirana Gharana. So he was a vocalist as well. So probably the only musician who was graded both in Hindustani vocal as well as Hindustani bansuri. He was an, there are several recordings in Akashwani. Even now, when people hear them, they they always feel, ki, why did he choose flute? He would have become a wonderful vocalist. So all that vocal music, from the Kirana Gharana, he tried to bring it onto the bansuri. And it carried. We tried to take it ahead, and myself, my students, and everybody. So exploration of a raga, like a vocalist would do in Kirana, is what is the salient feature, I guess, of our Gharana. And flute enthusiasts now are terming this as Godkhindi Gharana, but I wouldn't want to say that. I would just say that I'm trying to bring out the Gaiki Ang of Kirana Gharana in our flute. Because of my father's all his efforts, we've been able to create a separate style of rendition, I would say. So that Kirana Bharat, even till the point of the tans that a vocalist would sing, we try to bring it onto the flute. So yeah, so Kirana Gharana is what is very close to our hearts, and we religiously follow Pandit Bhimsen Joshi's renditions. So we try to bring out even the compositions, even the bandishes, even the cheese, as you say. So all those, we do that. But after a point, I would have to humbly and respectfully admit that there would be no flutist who might not have been influenced by Pandit Harpesat Chaurasia. So I was also one. I'm still a huge fan of his, and I picked up so many things from his playing, and I heard many concerts and all his recordings, and I picked up a lot of techniques of flute playing, and all that. So when at a point I decided that I have to have something unique. So that's why I try to combine both these different styles of playing. So and then this Laikari aspect of Carnatic music that that I'm learning. So I'm trying to combine everything and make a distinct style of my own. My father never used to play the Alap Jod Chala and typical, the Gatkari style or the Tantrakari style. He always stuck to Gaiki. He used to play the staccato and all that, but never completely into the Alap Jod Jhala.
Great. So, very insightful, isn't it? So, the last thing that he said, that's what we have been trying to focus or highlight in this session as to how Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji has made his own unique style by being able to play both the vocal style, which is the Gaiki Ang, which is what we heard, the first Rag Shuddha Kalyan, and the next two compositions that we heard, which were very typical instrumental style, right? And that is a very unique thing, the uniqueness of Pandit Godkhindi ji, Pravin Godkhindi ji. So, great. So, after having heard classical music compositions, let's listen to a rag which is very commonly played, especially on the flute. Now, Praveen ji mentioned about Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia ji, and this rag is something that Hari ji popularized, and we listen to it so often on the flute, and that is rag Pahadi, the folk rag originating from the mountains of Kashmir, and of course popularized by the Santoor maestro Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma ji. So let's listen to Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji play a very nice, a very peppy composition in this rag Pahadi. And forgot to mention about one more aspect as to how the flute legacy is passing on in their family from generation to generation. So Pandit Venkatesh Godkhindi ji, and then of course Pandit Pravin ji, and now Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji's son Shadaj Godkhindi ji. So if you notice, especially in the first composition Rag Shuddha Kalyan, there were two flute sounds. The second one was Shadaj, his son. And this composition that we're going to hear from Pandit ji is in Dadra Tal, the fast variation of Dadra. So here goes Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji with Rag Mishra Pahadi Dhun. Ahaha. Wasn't it so subtle and very intricate, very fine, right? After those fast pieces that we heard initially, this was so refreshingly subtle and, like I said, very intricately woven patterns, very typical of the semi-classical style, which is normally presented in Rag Mishra Pahadi. To conclude, let's listen to, as always, Rag Bhairavi from Pandit Godkhindi ji, and another composition in Dadra Tal, the faster variation of Dadra. So, Pandit Godkhindi ji with Rag Mishra Bhairavi. Wow, wow. My very humble salutations to this wonderful, dynamic flutist, and feel so lucky that we are able to be in the same time, the same age as Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji is around and still thriving as an artist. And I pray to the Lord Almighty that, may we will listen to more and more of Pandit ji's unique explorations and endeavors, and may we also become part of appreciating and witnessing the creation of amazing musical pieces from Pandit Pravin Godkhindi ji. So I hope all of you enjoyed this session just as I enjoyed bringing it for you. And this was episode number 39. The next one will be aired on April 14th, the second Sunday of April. Same time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And that will be episode number 40 of Swarshravan. So, all the previous episodes are also available on my channel on YouTube. So please do visit the playlist Swarshravan and enjoy and partake of all the amazing musical knowledge of all the great maestros whom we have tried to present for you. So, happy listening and stay safe, and until next session, thank you so much and namaskar.